I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. We'll do Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a moment of silence and prayer. Please stand. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chair Robert Torres.
Here.
Vice Chair Carol Mueller.
Here.
Commissioner Hector Diaz. Commissioner Sherry Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer Gutierrez. Commissioner Cecilia Munoz.
Here.
Commissioner Betty Baez.
Here.
Commissioner Alfred Williams.
So we have a quorum. We'll move on to oral communications. See no one here. We'll go on to the next item, which is the adoption of the February Community and Senior Services Commission meeting minutes. Any questions on this item? Any changes? Any comments? All right. Motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Vice Chair Carol Mueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Hector Diaz. Commissioner Sherry Fisher.
Yes.
Commissioner Jennifer Gutierrez. Commissioner Cecilia Munoz.
Yes.
Commissioner Betty Baez.
Yes.
Commissioner Alfred Williams. Okay, motion passed.
Motion passes. Next, new business. Item number 2, my request for the city's process to advertise on the plaza at West Covina and Auto Plaza reports.
Thank you, Chair Torres, members of the commission. The process for advertising on both the Plaza West Covina and the Auto Plaza reports really just have to do through the city with functions, events, items that would benefit the community. It's really the rubric for that. As far as the channel that you would go through, those requests would go through ACM, Pauline Morales, and those can be done via email sometimes. With those reader boards, as far as the picture resolutions are concerned, you want to be sure that you have sending crisp images and that you're sending things that aren't pixelated, because when they are put out into a, I guess, a bigger format, you lose some of that readability. So those are, that's just a brief overview of how that works. So items that benefit the community, yeah, that's how it works. Pretty straightforward, so that was an easy one.
Okay, good. Any questions, comments?
How far in advance do we have to do that?
Couple weeks. The sooner that you know, the better. 2 weeks.
And do we typically do city events only, or do we kind of allow nonprofits to kind of reach out to us and then?
Right now we're doing city events. I mean, if there is a nonprofit that's partnering with the city of West Covina on an event, that's certainly something that we could look at doing. As far as the Auto Plaza reader boards, we really haven't received any kind of pushback as far as like a limitation of how often we can do it, how many times a month. That really hasn't been expressed, but I would imagine if we're flooding their email boxes, their inboxes with it, at some point they may come up with a limit.
And do we know if anything's formalized for either of them?
We don't have anything formalized, but I will tell you that right now on the Auto Plaza report, we do have the advertisement for the Spring Festival.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that. Okay. It looked really good.
So this would probably be a good event. Does the Kiwanis have to do that, or do we do it first?
So one of the ideas I have is, like, if there isn't, how I guess one of the issues I had was with the quality and resolution of some of the flyers we put up. For the last few years, I've been noticing it, here and there. We'll provide a flyer similar to the Easter event, and it'll just be in really bad shape. So then, like, what checks and balances are we doing? I know it's just Covina, but is there any way we could make sure that everything we provide each of those Auto Plaza and Plaza West Covina, some sort of
Quality
template they
control?
have? Like, I'm sure they have a template, either the Auto Plaza or Plaza West Covina, that they provide their retailers, and they say that these are the requirements we need, this is the resolution we need, these are the text sizes, something like that. Do you know if anything like that exists, or we could get our hands on something?
I know that Covina is familiar with what those size specifications are as far as those graphics that are on that board. So I will talk to her, and there may be some kind of handout that does currently exist. If there isn't, I'm sure that's something that can be put together.
Okay. And if it could be shared, I guess, that whatever future meeting you guys can share that, because that's what I was thinking, that we could have, like, just for the future moving forward, when staff, whoever's in charge of reaching out, can have like a template.
Sure.
And they'll know exactly what format, what modifications they need to make, so that it's readable on that sign.
If I may, what was your opinion on the resolution on the auto board right now for the Spring Festival?
It looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks really good. So yeah, it seems like that thought went into that one.
Yeah.
I've seen really bad ones too.
Okay.
Where I can tell they just sent them the flyer and they just put it up, and like you can't see anything. You just see like, and so I'm like, So again, that's like a huge resource we have.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, people pay thousands of dollars to have their ads on these boards by the freeway. So that was my only concern. So, and okay, one more thing I wanted to mention. Is there any ability for us to have some sort of, well, we would have to talk to both, but to have something connected to our outreach calendar on the website, where we have items there that they can just pull into their system?
Kind of like a connectivity
Yeah.
between the two. No, that might be a little more difficult just because of the security measures that the city would have on its own network versus allowing something like that to open out. I don't know that we would be able to do a connectivity like that. I would,
Probably not.
yeah.
Wishful thinking.
But I understand you're looking for efficiency.
Yeah, so then that would be my only ask, maybe in a future meeting, to come back with at least something that they have or we have that shows exactly what staff should do in the future. Just because sometimes it's disconnected as staff leaves, or nobody knows who did what or how. I just want to make sure that every time we reach out, as far as in our community service events and
You're looking for fluidity.
yeah.
And that,
So.
I understand. Thank you, I understand.
All right, with that, anyone have any questions? I know Commissioner Williams just got here, we were talking about the reader boards, Plaza West Covina, how we advertise our events there, and then also the Auto Plaza reader board that we advertise our events on. And any recommendations you had or any thoughts you had on that, you could chime in, or if you had none. Okay. Sounds good. And with that, we'll receive and file. Item number 3, my request to bring back Summers in the Park to, concerts in the park to throughout the city in various parks.
So what I can tell you right now is the direction that we've received from the city council is to continue them at the Civic Center.
Okay.
Aren't we supposed to go and pick the groups that will be appearing? Normally, this council does that.
The commission does that.
Yeah.
So there will be opportunities for you to review some of the material, and so we'll coordinate that.
Yeah. And that's a fun job.
Oh, you're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And what was the event called?
Concert share.
It's a concert.
So the concert share has already happened, but what we do have the concert share did happen. We do have the materials for that, and there will be an opportunity for you to review the materials if you would.
Okay.
The event was limited, mostly because of the pandemic, and unfortunately that's where we are.
Geez, ever since I became a commissioner, it's been that.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know, especially when you're looking forward to doing something, I know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
But, I think that there's definitely then an opportunity, perhaps we can, open up another event that, you guys can have some more input in as far as some of the band selections, so I think we can do that, definitely.
May I ask, how many concerts are you planning for this year?
We are planning for 6
And that's starting when? Do you have an
in
idea?
June. It starts in
June?
June. It starts in June.
Okay. Is there a set, like the third week or third Friday, or is there a set schedule?
We'll get you a schedule.
Okay.
What
You
are-
said that?
Yes, ma'am.
What part of it will be on the 4th of July?
I'm sorry.
What are you doing for 4th of July?
We will be doing a fireworks show. If you would like a report regarding the 4th of July, we do have to stick with the agendized items.
Right,
So
but
we'll-
as a concert thing, that's what I thought it might be part of.
Yeah, if anything we still have to stick to the agenda. I don't want to correct with agendized items, correct? We need to stick with what's on the agenda. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I classified it as part of the
The summer
program.
concerts in the park are separate from the 4th of July.
All right.
In the past, we've done a concert for the 4th of July.
Yes, we have
Right,
a
that's
concert.
right.
That I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why you're asking that. Yes. So your question is, are we doing a band concert for
Yeah.
4th of July?
Yeah.
We would do a band concert as part of 4th of July, but again, we can talk about that as a separate item.
Okay.
Do you know where?
Yeah, I think what the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, is she just wanted to know if it was part of the concert series, like?
It would be a separate event, yeah.
completely, so it would be
Okay.
several concerts, and then the 4th of July would be a completely
Right, but
separate
in the
event.
past it has been.
In the past, they've done it together, yeah.
Mhm.
Do you know where you're gonna have the 4th of July concerts?
Right now, the 4th of July event will be at the Sportsplex.
Oh,
Okay.
And as far as
With the marching orders.
so what's the, I guess, plan for the summer concert series? Because I didn't really get the gist of how we were gonna go about it this time. So I guess what's the plan, as far as selection, like
Mhm.
well, not us obviously, but I'm saying, have they been selected? Who's gonna select them? When will we know? What's the process gonna look like leading up to, is it in June?
So, yes, the concerts begin in June, so they're really looking at balancing the budget with both, because there are budgetary, not constraints, but considerations that have to be taken versus availability. I know that the staff do have some concerts or some bands that they have made recommendations for, so what we can do is we'd be happy to share with you at the next meeting what those recommendations look like.
so bands have not been reserved yet?
We know what bands are available for which days. There hasn't been contracts created yet.
And another question, so typically in the past, maybe Mike might be able to chime in, but in the past, how do those decisions get made? Like at the administrative level, where it's our city manager, or is there an actual vote where the city council, because you mentioned the city council gave direction?
Yeah, it would be taken at a staffing level. If direction as far as locations are concerned, the council would have that opportunity to chime in and give that direction as far as how it's laid out. But they are allowing the staff to, make recommendations for what those bands will look like. Again, with the limitations of the pandemic, what concert share used to be isn't what it was this year. So we're just looking forward to having, in the future, something more, I guess, open and traditional to what it used to be. I remember going to concert share when I was working for other cities too, and it's unfortunately, it's just different right now.
And the moving to different parks, was that direction just this year or like moving forward? Like, 'cause what I was thinking is recommending it, so I don't know, were they informed that we were considering recommending it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So so their thought is for this year, the Civic Center. Now, if we want to have this discussion again, I would say the best time to do it would be in like August, September would be the best time to bring that discussion back. If that is truly, you know, the will of the commission, the body as a whole, to move throughout the park, then we would, throughout the different parks, I think was what you had said at the last meeting. That would be the time to have that discussion so that the staff has the marching orders to move forward and giving council the opportunity to really think about that direction.
Yeah, that makes sense. The entire idea was to see if we could spread it out and like engage different parts of the community, utilize parks that maybe people don't know about, like Heritage Park or what's the other one? Not Friendship Park. I'm using that. Woodgrove. You know, just things like that where they could actually, because I know that when events are in the south end of the city, I tend not to go because it's too far. Right? I'm just.
You're always looking for a good time.
Alfred and I would go to the south part of the city, because that's where we live.
Yeah, so that's the whole point, is to try to see if we can engage more of the community, open up our parks. But yeah, if we, I guess, August, and talk about it again, and then we'll move on and see. if we
Start
want to-
early.
Yeah.
I think starting early is key.
And I think you listed 2 great parks. I mean, they're beautiful parks, but just a reminder, there's no parking.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know how many spots are Heritage. I mean, it's
Yeah, 3.
maybe 15. I don't even think it's that. And then Woodgrove has no parking. So
I think where it is at the city is excellent. I really do.
I do, plenty of parking there.
Plenty of parking, plenty of room for the people that go, and it makes us be closer to the other people. We don't have to spread out.
You know,
We're a city, you know?
it felt like, and I went to several of them, it felt like we were a community together.
Absolutely.
In one place, and I really like that.
Yeah. Right.
And you see people that you haven't seen, and if you
Oh.
scatter around, you don't have that opportunity.
That's right.
I think that's a valid point, you know, like, and I'm looking forward to seeing them at the Civic Center. The way you're describing it, you know, that just sounds really special.
It was really fun, and I have pictures on my
I'm
phone
gonna look at
where
pictures.
people were up and dancing.
Oh, yeah.
I've only missed one, and, you know, just how do we get the community involved there? And, you know, if we want a sense of community, we have to figure out how to bring everybody together, and rather than scattering. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
I agree with you using our parks, they're beautiful. But
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I agree. Yeah, that definitely having a consistent location.
And because it's in, I don't know what you call it, but I call it a bowl, the sound is
Oh,
better.
the acoustics.
Yeah, the acoustics are better because it's down in the bowl.
That's what I was thinking too. I know we have events up top sometimes. Is that ever an option? Like the one we have.
that is county area, it's county property, and we do have the option we can ask. But the funny thing I was actually going to state it is, when we did it up top, everyone, it was instantly wanted back at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yes, it is an opportunity. We try to do bigger concerts up there, bring in more vendors, and we thought the space would be better, but for whatever reason, it didn't.
So it's been tried, yeah.
Yeah,
But you can put vendors up there, people can sit up there and still enjoy the music, they just wouldn't
They sure
see.
can, and they
But
do.
they can certainly hear, because I can hear it across the street, which is nice.
And for the concerts in the park, like I know we're having a really big success with vendors for the Spring Fest. Like, why can't we do that at the concerts in the park?
I think, you know, I don't know because I haven't seen one of your concerts in the park yet, but I think this is a really good moment for, you know, the city of West Covina and just, now that we're making those connections with those vendors, you know, perhaps we can bring more variety to the concert. So that's a valid point. I understand.
Yeah, because that might draw people into just having like a name, like a, I don't know, maybe, I'll just use Portals, I don't know if they'll do it, but, you know, Portals will be there, or El Cholo or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, any of the, I think,
Food vendors.
yeah, the food vendors, they have their own following too, and then what's nice about them is, and I don't know that everybody looks at the food vendors like this, they're a small business too, so giving them, not only are you giving them the opportunity to showcase, but you're also giving that small business the opportunity to earn some business and to increase their following. So, having the smaller businesses, those type of pop-up food vendors, pulling from some of the ones from the festival, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, because you have the list now, right?
There's just a nice list of everything here. I can tell you, I'm not going on the carnival ride, but I will look for the vendors, and you can probably find my husband in the beer gardens. So there's a little bit
With
for
mine.
everybody here.
I got a question. Have we ever thought about including high schools? Because some of the high schools are very good, some very good, like jazz bands and other things. And that's something else that would bring people out. They'll come to see their kids, where they might not come to do anything else. And some cities do have that, where they have a good, well, I don't know in California, but I know when I was in Texas, they would have they would get the local schools to come, and you would have to the different parks and show up.
My only question.
Especially if you talk about rotating parks. If you do it a park near a high school, I can guarantee you don't have parents there.
My only question to you, Mike, would be because when the city did do that, because the summer was their,
Yeah.
where they sold tickets to schools involved.
We were on occasion, we've tried a couple of different formats where we call the school out, their bands, their things, we call to their, their groups that aren't necessarily part of the school, their rock bands. We've done a talent show. We've had a competition where people sign up and we do a talent show, and at the end, a winner from the community. So we've done a few different things at that, tried a few different ways on that, but those are things that we're always looking to do. People do get to the concerts early, they do set up early, so we use the time beforehand as a perfect time for bands an opportunity to play or someone to show off their talent and stuff. I'm not sure what they're going to do this year, but it's definitely something we can pass along.
That's a good idea.
And that's definitely a way to get.
Well, yeah, that can go into the bowl, right, of all the discussion items for next year. I think in September, we can start the discussion and see if we can play a bigger role for next year.
Yeah, so that's the time to talk about it.
Yeah. So, all right, with that, we'll receive and file, and we'll move on to item number 4, which was the discussion about the city having an informational kiosk at the West Covina Plaza. So, I don't know if you wanted to provide any feedback, if you've had any time to look into it, but
We've made, so I emailed the mall management, just about some of what the cost would be around that, if there'd be an opportunity for even just putting flyers and promotional materials out there. And so we're supposed to have a sit-down meeting. Unfortunately, the timing of it wasn't going to coincide with this meeting, so if it's going to come back to the next meeting.
okay,
I would
perfect.
appreciate that.
I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
progress is made.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to even touch.
Well, I
base.
think, the conversation was that, and we also talked about, the festival too, so,
Yeah.
we will, she knows what I want to talk about, she knows that we're gonna have to time about it, we just couldn't coincide with this one, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, and just to help with the discussion, I guess whatever we can get.
Okay.
It's not necessarily,
You're not married to the kiosk?
yeah, not
Okay.
married to anything, but I would want to take advantage of that high foot traffic and publicizing the city events and just having some, maybe even a standing podium booth where someone could be there for an hour out of the month or whatever we can get, and preferably at a discount or free. But if costs are involved, then hopefully they're low. But that would be the goal. And then another idea would be, that I thought of before this meeting, would be something automated, maybe like an electronic kiosk, which would cost money obviously, but something that would provide city information, city events, that would be like a little reader board that they could touch on and learn about.
Okay.
But that would be an investment and a cost to that, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's just another idea that maybe they might have available that we could rent.
allow us to have that discussion, and then I'm encouraged to hear that you're open, to some other options, so they may come up with some things that who knows about, so.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions on that? Comments? No, okay. All right, moving on to item number 5. This was the request by Commissioner Munoz for a discussion about Orangewood Park, upkeep, park use, and graffiti removal.
Commissioner Munoz, Commissioners, thank you. This is something that we started last topic, and obviously currently right now, we are going through the budget process, and we are looking at all options for graffiti, park maintenance, park upkeep. There's lots of factors. This is the time that we're trying to ask and see what we can do. We're trying to send scopes out to see maybe we can affirm, maybe we can't, but find out what it will cost us to improve scopes to do things at park bathrooms. Graffiti, we're looking at all options, contracts, supplementing, anything we can do, make sure we have people on 7 days a week for graffiti. Right now we have 5 to 6 days, but looking at that 7th day. We are very much trying to stick to that 48-hour window of removing all graffiti, but it is challenging in certain places at certain times. Orangewood Park, we make sure to try to hit the face of the park and everything within 24 hours. Some weekends we don't quite hit it, but we work very hard too. But it is difficult for us to paint the entire skate park every week. So those are things that we're making sure to look at in the budget process when we put stuff out to bid, when we're asking questions on how we're going to do certain things. So that is pretty much my update. I don't know if anybody has any more questions.
So I do have a comment. Thank you for the update. I have gone by the park a little bit more frequently than I was in the past, and I have noticed that it appears to be a quicker turnaround on the graffiti. And with that, what I also noticed is that there's an increase of folks using the park. So I don't know if maybe the intense graffiti art that was there may have dissuade some families from hanging out in the skate park and using it the way it was intended. But thanks again to the staff and the graffiti crew, because it looks really nice when it's clean, and then you see participation and young families and the older guys as well skating around and using the park. So thank you very much. The business next door, the 2 buildings. The medical. There's a gentleman there, 2 gentlemen that I've met who also expressed deep thanks to the city for repairing the wrought iron gates and just having a little bit more of a presence there. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
I appreciate that. We try to respond to all parks. I know we talk about, everybody's concerned about their certain area, but we definitely try to look at all parks, all things. We have certain issues. We did repair the wrought iron fencing, but it's already back again. It's already gone again. So
you're kidding. I didn't see that.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to stay on top of it. I'm just being transparent. I just want to make sure that, we are aware and trying to get everywhere that we can get. So, I actually know I've been involved in the skate park since I started here, and there's some things that happened at those medical buildings that they put up with a lot. So, we do take their business and their participation in the city seriously, and obviously try to get to everything we can as much as we can. But there are some challenges. I wish I could say there isn't, but we are dealing with some challenges.
So a couple of things. About 2 months ago when I drove by, the cars were parked all over the lawn. They were out there openly drinking. I called Brian. Brian had the police there probably within 20 minutes, cleaned it all up. And now police has been parked there often, which helps, which, is that where we want our resources to go? But it helps. I don't feel comfortable with people openly comfortable drinking in our parks. So that they have made an asserted effort to do something. My second comment. If there's ever a need for somebody to get out and paint something right away on a weekend, call me. I'll go do it. My husband and I will go paint, give us the resources, and we will give you the manpower. Because this is our city and this is our home value, and this is, it's important to us as residents here that we have a nice area that feels good. And so Call us. Don't wait 24 hours. I'm off weekends and I can paint. I can paint like nobody's business.
I will take you up on your offer. As discussed at the last
Don't give me an
meeting.
air gun though.
As much painting as we do, you're going to air gun. And actually, we were talking about Vicky, and that's what Vicky and I talk a lot about. Vicky Slater, she's a blind stuff, but we provide her paint, and if there's an area that somebody wants to hit, we're there to help paint, materials, things of that nature. But she calls like, hey, I can't get it, and they just spray it. You know what I mean? So we're getting hit in a big area really fast. The skate park, I'm not comfortable sending someone into the skate park to go paint, depending on what's going on there. Somebody really needs to be there. I would strongly recommend that somebody's there with you to assist. Yeah. But obviously, we'll take all the help we can get. If there's something that you see that you definitely want to help on, we'll provide materials and we'll.
I'm not going to tell a bunch of men to quit drinking in the park. I'll leave that to somebody else.
So, yes, we appreciate people taking pride in the community and helping out where we can.
But if I've had a bad week, I might tell them. That was just a joke.
We don't have a contractor anymore, contract that does the removal of the graffiti.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
so it's a
City
city
staff.
staff?
Yeah, city staff does.
Maintenance?
Yes.
And just, so this conversation is timely because we're having those budget discussions now. So we're going through the budget process now. So it's hearing from, the commission, and it's not just the commission, we hear it from the residents too, just the need for the graffiti removal. Like, we hear you, so it's definitely one of our priorities as we go through this process right now.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions right now. I will later.
That's okay.
For the skate park, is there a way we could look at programming there, something that actually the city sponsors? And I think that would help because we tend to do programming typically in our centers, like the community centers. But I would imagine that any sort of programming we could do, whether it's once a year, twice a year, something, maybe we might even be able to incorporate classes for younger skaters that we can do as part of our program, skate instruction classes, and kind of try to activate the space and have it used at least, like I said, biannually, where it would give some sort of a presence, a community presence.
You're right. When you program a space and you have, the foot traffic in there, it definitely lessens the opportunities and mitigates the graffiti and some of the other unwanted activities. So we agree. You're right on track.
Perfect.
You're right on track. We
On the
agree.
same page. So if we can look at that sometime in the future, I don't know how urgent that would be, but whenever that can be brought back and kind of looked at and see if we can do something there.
Was there ever city-sponsored skate activities?
We're having my first assignment here back in 2001 was a skate park. We tried to do a lot, but the issue came into liability.
Right.
Because the second you do programming at the skate park, yes, you can control a certain group, but if you're at the skate park and someone is skating without their helmet on and they fall and crack their head open, the city is liable. So that was the distinction, and it's been some years since I've been at that, but we've offered skate, we've offered classes, we've offered different things. We used to try to staff it, control it. The main reason we did that was because of the medical buildings next door, it was discussed, and so because of certain things, it became very problematic to staff it and be there on a daily basis. That being said, through our contract program, we'll lease out most of our space for anything. It could be soccer classes, skate classes. We have tried to offer classes there and do that with our brochure coming back. I believe it is coming back. That'll be an opportunity that if somebody's willing to teach the class, meet the city's requirements, we can definitely offer. Big events is something we can consider. Maybe smaller battle of the bands, concerts, things of that nature, different things. There's a lot of possibilities.
Okay, good. You have that background, so
I'm sorry, but the city's liable if there's a class there or not, correct? If a kid cracks his head open in a crack pipe, the city's responsible.
The city is responsible, and once again, I don't want to speak out of turn because it's been a long time since I talked to an attorney about it, but when we were making these decisions and looking at it, if city staff was there, they were responsible. Classes, when we do classes, we make them provide insurance, we make them indemnify us. So all those things are done in any class we offer. So we try to
Mitigate, but
as much as we can.
the city's still responsible. That's the same thing with a sidewalk. If I trip over a sidewalk and break my leg, the city's responsible, if you're there or not.
Fine line between the two, and I understand it's
So then is it my understanding then that the skate parks are generally inherently, it's a liability if we kind of activate it or use it more?
So the school of thought, and I'm just going to pull on, it's a little bit different because the LPC park is laid out differently. But when we're going through with the JPIA, who's over in LP for insurance, when we were going through that process as far as policies, rules, and procedures. And it sounds weird, but the school of thought was, yes, you post on the signs, you must wear a helmet, you must do this, you must do that, but you don't staff it. So that was the school of thought about a year ago. Those were the marching orders from risk at that.
That makes sense. So like if we were to have an event, we would just need to ensure that we're.
You would have waivers. You would have waivers. You would.
And we would be enforcing the helmets.
That's a hard thing to do.
Well, now we can have a community
Robert,
service officer.
Robert, I've done it. It's a hard thing to do. Like fights over it. I mean, I've been threatened over it. Have you done it before?
It is challenging to enforce it in the skate park. The reason, and again, the reason I know this, and I'm just drawing back to Albert because of that skate park over there, is that when it was designed, we designed it at the time in a way that it was in a prominent location, that it could be seen from the street, that the LP is serviced by the sheriff's department, that the sheriff's department could just pull up right alongside. The other thing that helped with that too was having, code enforcement present and doing rounds around the park. When you send out, your part-time community services staff over there by themselves to do it, it becomes, you get confronted and sometimes in a very nasty way. But again, it was there, just the design of it, it was prominent. There was lights, it was right on the street, you could drive by, the code enforcement was there, sheriffs were constantly there, but it was a big investment of that public safety resources. And those are resources that LP had in that area that perhaps West Covina doesn't have. So what Mike is saying about getting into confrontations, I believe that did happen just from my experience in the way that you gain compliance with a lot of those kids is by having, that presence. The other way that you do it is relationship building. That's definitely key too, having those events out there, having those contract classes that have the waivers, that have the indemnifications, if they start building relationships and you say, hey, they're gonna close it if we don't comply, that helps too. When they see that, okay, if I don't listen, that, I'm gonna lose out on this, my friends are gonna lose out on this, that helps, but you're still gonna get your one or two knuckleheads. But I think you're right as far as like programming is concerned, just trying to, there's a way to activate it, but it has to be really thought out and how we activate it. And that particular space, the way that skate park is designed, and I get it, when was it built? Probably like in the 90s, early 2000s?
2001.
Okay, the 90s, early 2000s, okay. So at the time, a lot of people looked at skate parks as, okay, we kind of want it tucked away. We kind of want it out of sight, out of mind, just because of the reputation skate parks have, which I understand, that was the school of thought. But we've learned since then that it's actually, you don't want to tuck them away. You want to put it out in front. So that's part of the challenge too.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, the La Puente one's really nice, the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, the design of it, it's higher, visible, it's not like deep down.
It's right on a busy street.
So, yeah, I've got a lot of comments on it being a great park, so I can tell you're part of it.
No, I'm no big fan of skate parks because being involved in a lot of youth sport, skate park is just an area where you probably got the worst parents, because that's the place where they drop their kid off and go shopping. So they got the least parental control, and I haven't seen a skate park yet that was really, you know, it's tough, like you say, it's tough to control. And there is really nobody there who wants to be there, except for maybe somebody like us. And you know, the rest of the people are just kind of, hey, this is where I drop my kids off and go and do what I want to do. And that's a bad, you gotta have, anytime you got kids doing something, you need the parents involved also.
What I like, what I appreciate, and I really only learned to appreciate this, I'm just gonna be honest with you, is just by going through, you know, the design process and talking to people. What I like about, it is a sport. What I like about that sport is that it is accessible, because not every child is gonna be successful in team sport. And not every child is gonna be able to feel comfortable being in a team sport. But a child, and not every child, especially now, is gonna be able to afford a team sport. Those prices are skyrocketing. So skateboards are a little more accessible than, you know, your travel teams. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's just different. And I think that there still is value to it. And our challenge really is how we're going to bring that value in a positive manner back to that skate park. So that's the challenge. But again, I was like you know, like I thought to myself, you know, it's a little bit risky. You know, they do have that bad reputation. You know, it does invite other elements. And I was definitely, I'm reformed because I learned through the process, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I didn't go through it.
Obviously, we're discussing the challenges, you know, we're discussing the challenges, but the other thing I think that isn't stated enough is, it is counterculture and it is different, but it's just a few bad seeds. It's like anything, everybody's not out graffitiing, it's just a few people, it's just a handful of people. There are 10 times more people that go to the skate park and use it for what it's meant to be used for and do what they need to do. Okay, maybe they don't wear a helmet, but they're not there to cause damage or anything like that. So the unfortunate thing is I'm with you 100%. I think it is a positive thing. It gives people a different outlet, and the community services, that's what we're here for, is to give people an outlet. We don't dictate how people recreate, but we want to make sure we offer them options to recreate. So, yeah, so I don't have anything else to add.
And do we have any idea what, I know it's long-term, it's going to be long-term, but any idea what opportunities we have to revamp the skate park? Because I know there's grants available sometimes depending on what the use is, but it's wishful thinking, but to eliminate the skate park and relocate it further closer to the street, maybe have it above ground like the La Puente skate park, but...
One of the first things I would look at in that skate park is accessibility. And what I noticed is that when you go out there, you can't get into it, you know, unless you're on a skateboard. I mean, you can if you want to take that risk. But it's just, the accessibility. And so perhaps that's what we would look at if we can't, you know, bring it forward, you know, front and center. Perhaps we fix that part of it. But you're right, you know, there are grants. But if that's the direction that we go, we need to be in order to be successful, you're most successful at a grant when you're specific and you identify what the project is going to be. That's number one. And then number two is identifying partners. You're more successful when you identify a partner. So if we're bringing in, like, and then number three, that you have a program to go with it. So if you're bringing in, if you're saying, okay, we want to redesign this space, okay, that there's a need to redesign this space. So that's number one. Number two, you need a project, someone that, or excuse me, not a project, but a partner. So, you know, your CDOs, your nonprofits. I think there are a couple that are based in Los Angeles, actually, that would service this area. And that would be your second component. And then with that, someone that can provide programming. So ideally, you have that CDO that your partner would provide that programming. And that was what would make us competitive. But first, we have to identify a project and put costs to that. And it is a process, you know, for grants. It is a process. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's just, it takes, you know, from the time that you start preparing it and writing it until it's awarded, it's about a year.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I kind of agree with you on that, the operational changes and the access and all that. So I was thinking if there was anything that could be done, I know Mike's probably explored everything already, but have we looked at like lighting, maybe removal of the wrought iron fencing in the front? I think it's what, 8 feet high? I forget what the height on that fence is, because a lot of skate parks have the, you know, railings that are, you can easily access the skate park. San Dimas comes to mind. I know there's one in La Puente. I don't think the new La Puente skate park doesn't have a fence around it, right? Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, because I don't really know how much good it does to have it enclosed. I was thinking.
And that's really part of it that's interesting too. Again, you're looking at, you know, when, you know, West Covina was probably at the time like cutting edge, you know, to have in the skate park. Like that was super exciting. And I'm just remembering, you know, like at that time period, you know, a lot of cities, there were a lot of youth who were interested. Not all the cities wanted to make that investment. So kudos, you know, for the city at that time for doing that. And they, here, what was best practices is what they took into the design, and that's what they did. And then you just learn. So what's interesting about it, I keep going back to El Peak, because that's the newer one. We purposely did put a fence around it when I was there. We purposely, because that's what the designers were saying, and that's what the skaters were saying. And funny enough, that's what the insurance said, don't put a fence around.
So that's removed.
It's all, you know,
So yeah,
it's
that could be something that could be looked at. I don't know what process that would involve, because I know there's a lot of elements to it, but if we can look at just exploring.
But that fence might have been a requirement too, and I don't know because I haven't studied, when I was here at the time to design. That fence might be a requirement because of that design. And then we also have to think about, okay, who is that next to? You know, that's next to our partners for the hockey, thank you, yes.
And so that fence adjacent to the hockey rink, that's like a security fence for them as well? Or do they have another fence along?
We have a fence, and it's been a topic of discussion lately. We have a fence that closes off the soccer complex. And the reason that fence was put in is because we were, when renovations were being done at the soccer fields, we couldn't keep people off and we couldn't renovate them, because if you're familiar, you know how many groups go out. If a park's open, there's a group on it playing, so we couldn't keep the park closed, we couldn't keep people off the park, so that's why the fence went in. So there's a separate fence that closes off the Orangewood section.
Which is, that one's okay. Yeah. The fence between the hockey rink and the skate park.
I can't speak to why that fence was put there. I mean, Roxanne's obviously more familiar. Where it sounds like helmet laws are different, what I recall is we couldn't leave it open in the rain. You know, I recall rain being a liability issue. Like, because you can't let somebody go skate in the rain.
Especially in that design.
Yeah, so.
It's different design.
Yeah,
It's a dangerous design, actually.
Yeah.
If you remove the wrought iron fence, the probability of someone just falling in without a skateboard is pretty high.
Right.
Yeah, on the south end of the park.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe just not removing it, but maybe lowering it to like 4 feet, 5 feet. But I don't know what there's liability like you mentioned, but as far as use-wise, what's the operation right? Do we lock it?
We close it at the end of the night, yes. So it's not park hours. We open at dawn, close at dusk, depending on time of season. To state, like, you know, we're gonna go through the daylight change, so the parks will be open longer. It can't be a set time because obviously we have closers that start on each end of the city, and we're a pretty big geographical city, so they work their way in and out. So it just depends. There's not a set time, but it's around dusk.
Dusk, okay.
Can I, wasn't that fence built there because of security? The security for the children, the security for the community itself, for the liability?
I would lean towards that, like, especially because, again, that's what the school of thought was at the time, just because of that design, because you're going something that goes in, you know, like, it's not above ground, it's in ground, you know, and you're right, when it rains, it's slippery and you're gonna fall in, and,
Yeah.
it's the design, it's one of those lessons learned, you know, it's still a great resource, you know, people still enjoy it, and, it's gonna be an interesting discussion.
I think as the skaters go, I think they still like the design the best. I got
That's the risk. They like the risk.
Actually, the West Covina Skatepark, it was just in the Googling I did, is very popular among the skate
It is,
community.
Very popular.
They even have their own impromptu events that's very well known, just because of that danger aspect.
If we ask them, they want bigger bowls. They want
Yeah.
bigger.
So then, yeah, at least if we can look into it, I would think that maybe an option would be to keep the fence, but maybe move it back and lower it so it's not right. Because right now, I don't know if it's right at the drop, but,
3-4 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty.
so,
You literally, because I've gone in there, see, once you're in the gate,
It's right
literally
there.
right there.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. So maybe if we can move the gate further back and have some sort of like a landing area where it's not so.
So you can
I'm
slide.
just thinking that having an open skate park would make it better, but if there's flooding issues, if there's other liability, then
It's a different design.
it's a non-starter at that point, then we probably have to keep it and then always lock it.
If I might add, I guess my thought initially with discussing Orangewood Park and its related things is mainly thinking ahead that if the Olympics comes to town and they use Edgewood Pool, that having an early discussion about maybe having a premier park right next to the pool area would be really nice. Of course, there is that issue of the liabilities if you have outsiders coming in and they want to skate, and we haven't taken care of the issues that might put the city at risk. But I think it's a good time to have
The discussion.
discussion about maybe modifying the design, bringing the programming in, even if it's something really small, perhaps reaching out for a grant of some sort, maybe as something as simple as maybe a nonprofit or a partner providing maybe just helmets.
Yeah.
And maybe doing something like that, just a little bit about safety. Maybe having a graffiti artist come out and have a graffiti day along with giving out helmets. Those things are pop-ups, they're real simple. And would bring attention to the park, but those are just my thoughts, just thinking ahead.
Good thoughts.
No, they are.
Susie, and I think that skateboarding is going to be part of the Olympics, right?
It is. It's
So- Yeah, if that timeline works out and we're kind of able to get support, maybe that's something we could pursue. But we have to have those three components, right, for the grant to be successful. So, good ideas. All right, no further comments? Anyone have anything else to add? All right. So let's move on to item number 6. Update of existing or completed projects as well as future design options for the bathrooms at city parks.
So in your packet, we left you a design, we left you, I didn't give the entire plans to everyone. Anyone would like, there's a lot of pages, over 30-some pages, but we did layout and exterior. It's not the best rendering, but there's a lot of information I wanted to give you. If, like I said, if somebody wants a packet, just let me know and we'll give it to you. One of the main things in these bathrooms is we wanted to make the bathrooms welcome. We didn't want them to look, you know, for lack of a better term, like we redid Park a few years ago and we were told it still looks like a prison. So in these plans, you know, we tried to change the facade, try to go away from the block building look. From my standpoint coming in, obviously, you know, Robert and I talked about vandalism and things going on. So we looked at hand dryers, paper towel dispensers, soap dispensers that are built in the wall, things that people can't easily vandalize and take out. Plumbing is very interesting in park bathrooms. Bathrooms are almost 60 years old. There's a lot of things, you know, for us to fix a clogged line, sometimes we have to take a toilet off the wall. So making sure we put in the proper clean outs, make sure that we have access outside the buildings. All those factors are things that we looked at. Security. At Orangewood Park, they cut the doors off the hinge with a torch. You know what I mean? We got to, you live and learn, right? On design, right? You live and learn. Well, the bathroom there was designed where the doors open inside. So the way that you've gone by and you see a steel bar on a park door, well, if the door doesn't open outside, that steel bar doesn't work. So they kept busting the locks and they looked at it, and then finally they just cut the hinges off. So
Is this the bathroom behind
the new bathroom, the
soccer complex?
So those are all things that we really took into account on the bathrooms that we really want to look at. How can we secure the doors? Can we make sure things swing the right way? You know, the urinal stalls, you know, something that can't be etched, or, you know, I'm really a fan of stainless steel that we can repolish.
Right.
So, you know, things like that, mirrors and stuff, that'll all come into play. That's how we went about it. So we wanted to make it appealing, something that you go to, felt comfortable in. One of the big changes that the city manager was insisting on, and, you know, is we're going to change out the roofs. So one of the reasons this plan was held up is because we're going to go away from the wood, you know, the wood fascia and the shingle. We're going to go to metal roofs, things that last longer, won't rot, things of that nature. This park plan says Cameron Park, but this is actually, most of our park bathrooms, you know, 85% of our park bathrooms are this style. So this is a general park plan. So currently, this is out to bid. We're supposed to get the bids back on the 10th. We did have a couple of addendums to the scope, so that might get pushed a little bit. The goal is to get the bids back and get this to council, and Cameron will be the first bathroom done, and we're looking to get that started in the next 3 months. We also are waiting on plans back from Walmarado. Walmarado is this general bathroom, but they added on 400 extra square feet there. So we had to go out to design again.
When you say add on,
They added stalls at Walmarado, so they had like the Del Norte bathroom. Imagine they cut a hole in the side and they put 3 more stalls on each side for men and women.
Oh, okay.
So that actually needed an additional design. That design should be back here shortly. That's one of our bathrooms that needed the most attention. You know, for those of you that have been with the city for a long time, obviously homeless issues have been throughout the city for a long time, but 20 years ago there was one location, it was Walmarado, you know? So that's a place, that's one of the reasons it was prioritized, and that'll be out to bid hopefully in the next month, and that'll be started within 5 months. Council's prioritized park bathrooms, so our goal is to do a handful to 6 of them, depending on funding. Obviously, getting the bid back, seeing what the cost is, will be, you know, will dictate how many we can actually do. But since we have a general plan, we're hoping that we can get, you know, a cost, you know, a rebate for a bigger scope. We're hoping that we can get cost savings by doing more bathrooms at once. So we're going to send a handful out. There's issues that we have to deal with at Chattanooga Park on their bathroom. Woodgrove, there's runoff that comes from the hill that runs into the bathroom. So things like a retaining wall would be added and small details to different bathrooms that we would try to adjust. But for the most part, this would be the general plan for the bathrooms. Don't know if you have any other specific questions. Robert, if you want to take your time to go through those plans and reach out with questions, we can bring it back to the commission, or however you want to handle that. You ask him now. You know.
He's smiling.
No, these are good details that I doubt that I need to go through. But the items that I think are important is, I guess it's good news to hear that they're prioritized. But do we have any sort of indication of like the priority and then like the timeline on the whole 16 bathrooms.
I cannot tell you all 16. I can't say 16, but I can tell you that we are looking to put 6 or 7 out to bid. Really, really cool. I mean, it's going to be a good amount of money that the community really needs. And obviously, we're going to look at the whole, look at all of our parks and prioritize to the best. And obviously, we have where the leagues are, where the numbers are that show that.
So right now, what are the 6, or the 6 or 5 or 6 that we're?
It hasn't been 100% prioritized, but it's probably where the leagues are at. So Del Norte, Walmart and Cameron already covered. Del Norte, Cortez, Friendship, Wood Grove is one of the parks that we looked at. Orangewood has a bathroom there, so there's more discussion that'll happen there. There's a bathroom in the back that's exactly the same as this. So it's not 100% set in stone. We're still weighing that all out. But that is the plan. And we were asking about the bid yesterday.
Is Orangewood going to be, the bathroom in the back, is that going to be demolished and then the new one put up in front?
That's going to be up for conversation. That has not been decided.
Okay.
And then as far as the timeline is concerned, because I think that because the city is taking this approach with like the 5 or 6, it's really going to come back to, the cost. The 5 or 6, we're going to have a better understanding of what that timeline is going to look like for the next 5 or 6 or the next 10, however that we do that.
So my question is, if you're taking it out to bid, how many are you sending out to bid, and what do you expect to come back? And if you're sending 12 out, and the cost comes back in too high, which ones are you?
So what it is it's a request for proposal.
Right.
So we're gonna give them, this is what we're looking for, this is what we want, and so the responders will provide their information. Now, as far as cost is concerned, obviously, the city does have some requirements as far as, we're gonna go with, we'll put it this way, we're gonna go with the lowest, most responsible. So you're not just looking at, okay, this is the lowest bid. You're looking at, okay, this might be the second lowest or the third lowest, but they're the most responsible. So you take things into consideration, like how many other projects of this type have they done? What other communities have they served? How long they've been doing it? So those are all things that we will take into
The lowest
consideration.
bidder can kill you with change orders.
Oh my lord. Sorry.
We
Yeah.
do not always like it.
Yes.
And obviously, this commission is involved with the playgrounds, and when we we're getting ready to do community, we have 2 underway. We've got 3 done in the last 18 months. When we sit down and talk, those are things we'll discuss, because we made some changes and we went, did some things, and it's, there are challenges.
Yeah.
But those challenges though are also welcomed opportunities, because that's how we learn. Because really, when you brought up change orders, really it's gonna come down to the scope, how well your scope is written. And when you have a scope that's comprehensive and it's gonna capture a lot of those challenging moments, the lessons that we've learned from other projects, then you're gonna lessen the likelihood of those change orders, because you're absolutely right. That's what kills you every time.
And finding a contractor that has done the work and really understands the scope is key.
You're 100% correct.
Do we know, as far as lighting goes, was that part of this?
Well, obviously, we're looking for, in the roofing, we're looking for natural light, so we're trying to put more natural light in there. And then obviously LED fixtures and more modern fixtures to make it brighter. We know lighting is key to the bathrooms for safety and using it, so that is part of this.
Right now, and even as we talk about it now, I know there's going to be a timeline, but if there's any way of doing some sort of interim, short-term lighting improvements to all the bathrooms. I know it helped when we changed the lights at Del Norte to LED, but in my opinion, just what we have now, just improving that, lighting it, and brightening that space makes it feel more comfortable, safer. Because some of those bathrooms, you walk in there during the day and they're pretty dark.
Yeah.
So that's just an easy retrofit I think we might be able to do and not have to wait but that's just a thought. If we have the money, if we have the staff or the people that can do that, that would be a quick improvement. And if we can't, then just make sure that we have that lighting looked at very closely, so that, because you can have the nicest bathroom in the world, but if it's lit poorly, it's kind of scary, yeah, especially even during the day, because the lighting won't get in.
I think, and last point, I think once we get the bid back on Cameron Park, it'll be an indication of we can really come back and say, hey, this is how many we think we can do. And we are looking for economy of scale by doing more, so that'll be the tell sign once we get Cameron back.
I got it. I'm probably a touchy subject, and that's General Oak, the bottom left room. I think Tony was kind of this because we don't have it's been there almost a year and it hasn't been open. Is there a schedule on the sewer?
It's completed, that bathroom's open.
No, I guess last time I was there was about a week or so it was.
It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been open. The lower bathroom, or are you talking about? No, it's been open.
But I look at the design, it's kind of like what the upper area is in Shadow. I haven't seen very much damage in it when I've gone up there in Shadow, but it's used a lot. I mean, county people that are out on the street, they use it at noon time. It's very, you know, it's a lot of, I keep saying, a park has to be designed not only for kids, but adults. If you got adults going there, it's less graffiti, it's less damage, and you know. So if it's a family thing, you got less damage gets done, less graffiti. But the last time I was in Florida again, I think it was a week ago, still had an out of water sign on it, it wasn't working. But
I'll check on that. My understanding
if you
is
say it's open, I'll go down there and mark it.
Yeah.
Send us an email. There's a problem, send us an email.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, our understanding that it's complete.
And it's funny because Shadow Oak, we have a lot of problems with the upper bathroom of Shadow Oak.
Yeah.
It's interesting, we take the toilets off there a lot. Yeah.
Any further comments, any questions? All right.
No, but I will be asking for the rest of the plans, and then I did like your suggestion, Mike, that we take the time to review it, and if we have questions, to come back to you,
No problem.
or comments.
All right, with that, let's move on to item number 7, update on transportation survey and bus shelter updates.
The transit evaluation is still going on. On February 9th, there were a couple of presentations, community meetings that were made by our consultant, presenting some opportunities for transit delivery models. Based on the feedback that was received between now and then, and had a chance to see the extension of the transit contract a couple of weeks ago. There's some input, comments that were taken from that as well and incorporated into alternatives. And so the evaluation is going to be presented to the council on the 15th, and we anticipate further refinement of those alternatives, hopefully get a direction on which way to go and do some fine tuning. But the evaluation is to inform and request for proposals for service moving forward, or on a month-to-month contract with a transit provider. It's shuttles and dial-a-ride. So whether or not we stick with that model of transit delivery, that's the purpose of this evaluation. So don't have a bus shelter update because that's going to kind of be contingent upon how we decide to proceed.
Right, because you'll eliminate possibly some sites and some stops. Yeah. Any
So
questions?
The presentation that was made to the public is up on the city's website if you want to take a look at that at westcovina.org/transit. The full slide deck is available with the various alternatives that the consultant is putting forward. And again, on the 15th, presentation will be made with the refinements on those alternatives.
Okay, and then that presentation on the website, that's the one that was given to the city council?
That was the one that was made available to the public.
Oh, okay.
It was included to the city council as a weekly update,
Oh.
letting them know that that was coming in public meeting. But based on comments that were received at the last council meeting, we're going to refine those.
Sounds good. Any questions on the transportation?
Yeah, I have a question. Did you say that includes the dial right also too?
Yes.
Kelly? Would they be extending the mileage to it where I understand they would only go 3 miles out, isn't it?
3 miles outside
Yeah.
of the city.
That's what I understand.
That's correct.
And they're not going to extend it any further than that?
At this time, I don't think so. You know, it's something to consider whether or not we stay with that model.
Oh, okay.
May, you know, incorporate some taxis, maybe incorporate Uber or Lyft type of thing.
The reason that I question on that is because I know that a lot of us use the Foothill Hospital, the Presbyterian Hospital, and that dial-a-ride will not take you that far into that hospital or to the clinic there.
Presbyterian?
It's on
Cypress and
Citrus.
Citrus.
Is it Citrus?
Almost San
Yeah.
Dimas.
Yeah.
It's all-
It's
Right on the border of San Dimas.
Citrus and Foothill.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Citrus and Foothill. And then they have all those clinics there, different doctors in there, so,
Okay.
like specialists they have there.
Mhm. We can look at extending those.
Could you check on that, please?
Certainly. Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, comments? All right. With that, let's move on to item number 8, revisit the request to discuss available options to create a community senior member spotlight program and presentation at commission meetings.
So we're working on a template to go ahead and share with you. I know at the last meeting we talked about, there was a volunteer from the police department that we were interested in hiring. And so we're going to use that as the template moving forward. The part I'm a little bit, senior member spotlight program and presentation at commission meetings. The presentation portion, what are you looking for that?
Similar to the city council's
Okay.
presentation, where
Okay.
we give them the recognition, I
A
guess.
certificate or something? Okay.
Or maybe just read the Discover's write-up, just to inform the public if they're not able to attend, for example, we can just highlight them, have them as an item on your presentation, talk about them, but if they're here, even better.
So we'll put that template together, and then we can put together some points for consideration for the next meeting. Okay, but thank you for the clarification. The presentation was a little unsure on that one.
Yeah, and then if the city council would want to participate, we would need it at that level to spotlight
Okay.
that senior. Yeah, that's something we could keep on the table. And then I guess once we get to that, we'll discuss how we, rotate and have each of us nominate a senior in a spotlight. It's only gonna be, I think, 3 a year, right? Because it'll be on the Discover. That comes out 3 times a year, or 4?
It would be 4 times.
4 times a year, so we'll be able to spotlight 4, and there's what, 10 of us, or 8 of us now, so.
There will be.
Yeah, every
Will be 9.
9, okay. So, be about a 2-year rotation.
Or we can do 2 at a time.
That's a good idea. Yeah, if there's space in the Discover,
Okay.
maybe we could do 2 at a time. spotlight
I'm
too.
sorry, I missed earlier, the Discover's back on track? Okay. Are you handling that or
The
Spalding?
department's handling
Okay,
it.
great.
Is it gonna be, well, do we know what kind of material it's gonna be? Is it gonna be that glossy paperback material, or is it gonna be like newspaper?
I don't think we're going the newspaper direction.
Okay. I was just checking, because Baldwin Park does their newspaper style.
I've done the newspaper, you know, the newspaper is a cost-effective way to handle newsletters, but I don't think it's going to bring the same result as a magazine, if you will.
Right.
Because that's what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Last year.
Well, I think you're gonna, this is just my personal observation, the less likelihood of you just tossing it.
Yeah, people will spend the time to read it,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, and then we can work out the rotation the next time, like I said, next week we can talk about it, so. Any other questions on the senior spotlight? All right. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to ad hoc committee reports. Anyone have ad hoc committee reports?
Yeah. There will be a CDBG ad hoc committee in the coming weeks, and I think Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Gutierrez, Commissioner Allen, are you on that as well?
No,
The CDBG ad hoc
No.
committee?
I think it was Commissioner Nguyen, but I think somebody was replaced
Right.
at some point by somebody.
I don't think he's been replaced.
No, I don't think so.
The CDBG?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that could be something, is that before the next meeting?
Likely, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll just, the three of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That
Could
committee,
be, I'm sorry?
that committee,
Yes.
when will it be?
I'll be reaching out to the ad hoc committee members directly to see what works for them. And so we put out a notice of funding availability for the next round of, for the next fiscal year. And so we'll arrange those presentations.
And I was glad to see, I actually saw that section of the council meeting where they kind of prioritized, they reprioritized some of the items, right, on the CDBG.
Right.
So I think one of them was housing assistance, rental assistance, yeah, rental assistance. All right, moving on, any commissioners' reports? Anything that you went to?
Yes, I was apparently the only commissioner that showed up at the Pony League opening day, and it was spectacular. It was done, they had a couple of young men, that one of them was in the minor leagues in I don't even know what team, Arizona, it was Arizona Diamondbacks. He came from the Angels, and I don't remember his name, and I should because it was baseball. Huh?
She was.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I was there as well.
I didn't see you.
I was there early, left early.
Okay,
I was-
well,
no,
there
that's
were
what it says.
39 teams
I was there
there.
too.
There were 39
Spirit.
teams there. The participation is phenomenal. Where my grandson played just a couple years ago in Chino, there were 4 teams. This was impressive, and we've got another one coming up in a week or two for Little League, and I have every intention of being there. It's just so heartwarming to see all these kids that are out there doing it. It builds really good people. My brother went all the way through to the St. Louis Cardinals majors, so I know what it can do in a family, and I recommend that we all show up. And
Do you have the date? Do you have the date?
I don't know, we got a list of them.
There's one,
19th.
one the 19th and one the 26th.
Yeah, that's what it is.
The 19th is National, right, Del Norte?
Yeah.
No, National just had it on the 6th.
No, it is Del Norte though, pretty sure.
I know, I thought I saw something.
Del Norte is national, West Covina National.
Yeah.
So
It's under upcoming events.
The other thing we did was the Historical Society, again, they had Superintendent Flores there to give a talk, and she is, I think, very remarkable. I think she's going to lead our children very, very well. I was very impressed with her. And that's it for me.
Yeah, it was a nice event, and then they had a follow-up event at the high school.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I
good,
did.
and great turnout as well.
Right, you'd go to that too.
Yeah, with the mom.
I know.
Cal also attended the meet and greet at the high school. So
I think she's
yeah,
impressive.
impressive, amazing woman that hopefully will lead us into the next 20 years,
Yep.
depending on when she retires.
I think so too.
All right. So, any other reports?
I participated in the homeless count. That was done really well this year. LASA had a downloadable app that tracked your movement in a specific neighborhood by census tract. So I was pretty impressed by that. It was good. We're out there.
See anybody? No, you don't,
Yes.
because there's a reason
Yes.
you don't. Like, they do it on that, they do the count at that time because a lot of people are in the shelters.
Right.
So so they have they've started a count. So there's a reason that,
Yeah, there were a few out there, the usual spots in certain neighborhoods. Sadly, what I thought I saw was more individuals that really appeared they needed mental health services because it was extremely cold out there. And they were out there without shoes, but obviously doing their own thing, not needing any help and really not bothering anybody. But there was a group over in a bus kiosk over closer kind of to the Shakey's on Splendor, Linda Street.
On the end of right there.
Michelle, it's been a
Yeah.
hospital. I picked up stuff there today. The shopping carts and stuff there.
Yeah.
That's right at the border of West Covina.
Yeah. Well, when we tracked them, they of course ended up in West Covina, so we could not count them again. But there's folks out there that truly need help. So, but it was a very well organized event. It was very well participated. So hopefully the outcome will be good.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
I will say, I signed up to do it, and my husband asked me not to, and I'm not usually one to take orders, but he was real uncomfortable with me going up there.
It was very different.
And he didn't want to go with me, so.
Years past, it was more get out of your car and walk
Yeah.
in teams. This year it was stay in your car, do the windshield survey, and the app will track you. And then make your notations on the app or comments. So it felt a little bit different, but if you're comfortable in your car,
Yeah,
that's
next
great,
year
but
I
if
would
you're
go.
comfortable walking around and poking around alleys and with a flashlight.
No.
It was good. It was,
And you went in groups, correct?
no, it's just, we had a team, the chief of police was there, council member, Brian was there, chief of police was there, and then there were individuals that went out single and then in teams. I just went out, they preferred because of still the pandemic issues and things of that nature, 2 people maximum. So just myself and a partner, we went out. So it was good. I really enjoyed it this year.
So you went on foot at a certain point?
I'm sorry?
You went on foot at a certain point?
Yes. We didn't need to, but we did. Especially around the 7-Eleven area off of Francisquito and Azusa. Because you have the Southern California Edison building.
Street, yeah.
And then there's a cul-de-sac there and a lot of stuff that happens there. And then behind the 7-Eleven, where it's not gated off, there's always things going on back there too, so. Where I felt safe, we got out and used our flashlight, so. It was good.
All right, thank you again for doing that. It's a great service. I wish I could have done it, like most of us wish we could have done it, but it's hard to get out there. Very cold. So yeah, definitely kudos to getting out there and committing yourself to that. All right, next we have, any other commissioner reports? Okay.
Friendship Park.
Oh,
Your Friendship Park, the grand opening, or the grand opening park.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, Friendship Park was, I attended the grand opening, and the contractor there and the staff are doing an excellent job at that moment. Now, I have not gone back, but I thought it was a really nice event. It was nice to see the ad hoc committee's discussion and the recommendations actually be welcomed by the community that was there. There is an individual, and Mr. Salas, who's a neighborhood resident there, I had opportunity to chat with him a few times, and he was very comfortable with the direction of the equipment there. He's a long-time resident there, so that was really nice. It was really nice to see that. So I did go there, and I also did go to the Colorado Park baseball opening. That was also very nice.
Terrific.
And that was, I agree with you, there was absolutely zero parking there.
Yeah, man, I was gonna get a parking ticket, but
And it was really nice though to see so much energy, kids, families, you name it. Everybody was out there.
it was
I
beautiful.
think we have a good opportunity right now to bring the community together. Everybody's ready to come out.
You're
That's
right.
what it is.
So right.
So thank you for reminding me about that. That was nice. It seemed like such a long time ago.
Well, thank you for attending, and thank you to the entire commission for your work on that. I think you guys did a great job on both playgrounds, so thank you for that.
awesome. Glad to hear it's going. So how's it going so far? Is it?
Construction at Friendship is going really, really well. At Cortez, we have an issue pop up. One of the spinner that you really liked, they changed the standards, so it wouldn't fit on the template, so we had to change a piece of equipment. So it's a spinner, but it's not as big as that other spinner. So that is delaying construction at Cortez, unfortunately. So I was really bummed out about that. You know, that was a piece of equipment that you guys were all into, and one of the things that drew you to that playground. So really unfortunate. We tried to find anything to make it work. So
So it's not a spinner anymore?
It's a spinner, but it's not as big. So it needed a 9-foot radius. They changed it from a 6-foot to a 9-foot radius, and there was no way to make it fit. They were trying to see if they could reconfigure the equipment, whatever they could do to get it in, but there was just no way to pull it off. So I think that would help 2 kids, and that was a spinner that only holds 1. So they threw in a couple extra park benches. So
Do what you can.
yeah.
A lesson learned. Next time we should really talk about that when we're asking for things.
I tried to talk about as much as I could,
Lesson
but those fall through the
Well,
cracks.
One kid on a spinner, so sad.
Yeah, there's no fun here.
I'm sure you're gonna get some flack for that from the kids. Cool, thank you. Okay, next, items to be agendized. Anything that anyone wants to talk about in the future, any concerns?
I have something, it's probably, the parks used to have these little small LED things in them. As they've gone back, they were made out of steel, they rusted up, and slowly removed them. Nothing ever got put back. I've been Shadow Oak, now there's 2 left, or 1 left. And I was talking to a gentleman, and he was kind of, the one that's left, especially at the lower area, is on the far end, not close to the parking lot. And he was down there doing his thing, you know, with his family and stuff. And so, why can't we have one closer to the parking lot? Are we planning on, if it's something that the city doesn't want to redo, is it something that we can put back in? I mean, do better.
Well, we are working on a park assessment. Barbecues, water fountains, we're to the point that we really need new picnic benches and tables. It's something that we've been discussing over and over again we're looking for. The barbecues is an interesting issue though, because some places it's no problem, some places it's a big problem. So that's gonna have to be more of a discussion with council and the commission and see where to go with that. At this point, we are not replacing anything, but that doesn't mean we won't. You know, so I can't answer on the barbecue, but I can tell you everything else. We are doing everything we can. You know, water fountains is a big push of mine. That's something I'm really trying to do in some of these parks. Like Friendship is a park, we're able to put it into the playground, but that's not always the case. So those are just things we're really going to look at. I'm going to make a big push for picnic tables, benches, and water fountains. And then also, Roxanne's here as well, but we'll discuss the barbecues as well and see what way we're going to go with that.
Well, I know water fountains, I'm not, they seem to get damaged. I don't know how you damage
They're
water
probably,
fountains.
you know, all of our, I can't tell you when the water fountains were in. I mean, they're ancient. They've been there for a long time. Our infrastructure is aging. I mean, we really are trying to tackle that, and we're past the point of Band-Aids. So, you know, it's just so you know, water fountain runs about $3,000. So it's like, you know, park benches are $800 to $1,000. So if we need 30 per park, you know, you're really getting into high. It's not as simple as, hey, I can buy a $100 table. It just doesn't work like that. So we're definitely trying to find the funding sources. We've reported it back. Myself, Roxanne, and our new deputy director, Raul Alvarado, have been working on the parks assessment list, and we're gonna submit all that information.
I don't know if that's something we can bring back.
Yeah, like I was thinking that too. So if we can agendize or see if we can play a role, because I know historically we have, right, in the park needs assessment, so that we could have some sort of preliminary look and then have suggestions, so that way before it goes to council, we'll have kind of vetted it and put our input, so that way we can chime in on stuff like barbecues and what have you on the, at least at the draft stage, or I don't know how you want to do it.
We're coming up on the need for our parks assessment too, for our Measure A funds. And obviously our plan has been playgrounds, and we don't want to get too far from that because we have a goal. But ultimately, you know, I think that's a place where we can address both, where we can talk about parking and, you know, bigger ticket items as well.
Okay. So maybe that could be a future agenda item, the park needs assessment.
We did it as part of the commission meeting, like we took the commission meeting and turned it into that, and I envision we'll probably do the same. So that's what we need to start the next process and the next area we're going to work on.
Okay. Sounds good. I have a few things, but does anyone have anything that they wanted to talk about?
One of the things I'd like, and there's an upcoming events here, which is great, but for the commissioners to be given as much notice ahead of time instead of 1 or 2 days, so we can plan and participate in more of these events. I just think that, you know, by the time Tuesday comes, my weekend is planned, and it's like, okay, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? So the more advance notice and like having this event calendar here is great. And as things change and become more relevant, that we're aware of it. And inviting us all. And I think Deborah does a good job of inviting us via email.
Thank you.
She's really good about pushing it out.
And they asked me, and I guess it's something that didn't be popular, is pickleball.
Pickleball.
And what's the likelihood of adding striping into the tennis courts for that?
We have a quote for it because we're looking at redoing the surfacing over at Del Norte, the tennis courts there. So that wasn't at an auction because we did anticipate that.
2 courts there.
Right. Yeah, so we looked at that as an option. So at least we have some numbers to that moving forward. Doesn't mean that we're going to do it there, but you know we did anticipate.
I guess it's a no-books thing.
A lot of people.
I haven't.
It's really popular.
I'm a tennis player, but
It's the newest game.
All I have to do is
Cortez, maybe. If there's any sort of flat area at Cortez, but here it's senior center. Yeah, Del Norte.
Is it also restriping that good? I mean,
it's not as cheap as you think it would be because it's textured. You know, they need the texture. There's base on it too, so they sand it and things. But I think you're looking, you know, a couple tennis courts is $20 grand around that point.
$25, yeah.
To stripe it?
Yeah.
To resurface and stripe.
Because that's been on our capital improvements list forever, right?
Yeah, at one point we thought it was funded, but it turned out it wasn't, but yes, it's been on there for a while.
Story of our life. Yeah. Speaking of that, I know it's not agendized, so next time maybe an update on the dog park.
The dog park's going out to bid.
Okay.
So it's going out to bid, we have an option for it. We do have to circle back and figure out funding, but there's lighting, lighting, expanding it so we can rotate and fix turf. If you agendize it, I'll bring the plan.
Okay, yeah, so
I'd
then
like to see, bring me a plan as well.
agendize the dog park, just an update, and then maybe any update you can give on your progress with the pickleball and tennis sports.
Do you have anything in the works that we could agendize for Gingrich Park? We've never mentioned it. And on my next door group, there's a lot of people down there that would love to see some improvements there.
All playgrounds, we're trying to go in order, and obviously playgrounds is part of all of them. I was just there, the basketball court needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, bathroom is the same as the other park restrooms, so I think that's a good place for that would be the park needs assessment. That community is a big part of that, I would spend that funding, so, I think that's a good place to bring it up, and if people are saying that when we have that meeting, we should make sure that we notify them so they can come and speak.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, we can lump it in with the parking assessment. That would be one of the.
Right, just let me know when and I'll put it out there to the
I
residents.
think, if I may, since we're looking at doing a parking system, I think that perhaps, and I'm looking at you, because you're going to be able to tell me this, but I'm thinking that's going to take an entire meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that would be a light agenda. In the past, what we've done is a light agenda item, just a little bit of regular business, but the meeting is a couple hours long. We let the public speak. We might do, an activity. Last time we come up with our ideas that people take stickers and they go put it on there. What that is, as a group, I think we just need to talk beforehand and make sure that we have an idea, because there's lots and lots of ideas, but it gets hard if you're saying, we all want an aquatics complex and it's $25 million a year.
Right.
So it's just making sure that we're all on the same page and do that. But yes, it would be a couple hour meeting. That would be the majority of the meeting.
Good.
Cool. Okay. I know this might not be, I know I've heard a lot about the Measure W and helping with park improvements and depending on what the project is and how it works with. Is there any way that we could get some sort of idea of what efforts we have going as far as, I know we get our annual allocation, right? We get, every city gets a certain amount every year.
We get $1.3 million.
So then what I was thinking is if we could somehow kind of throw out ideas to see if we could get involved in the regional program, which is, I think, from what I last heard, was like $27 million that we get for our, I guess they call them watershed areas, where that is like, I don't know, 6-7 cities within Upper San Gabriel Valley, and seeing if we could do anything park related with that, because I know it's difficult, but have we done anything related to that?
Good. Well, a big chunk of what we're trying to spend right now, we have two issues. So we have a water issue at Woodgrove Park that we've done a Band-Aid on. So that's an issue that we're trying to figure out. And then the other big project that we're trying to do with that funding is we're trying to do the parking lot at Shadow Oak. So, but watershed is a big key to that. So we're trying to figure out what will qualify, what won't, and then find the additional funding sources we need to accomplish that. So we have quite a bit of need. And if we give our money up to the regional projects, I don't know if we'll be able to get to that, because we do need a big chunk of, there is a large portion to do the parking lot at Shadow Oak. I don't want to give numbers because, the plans were drawn in 2017, but it was a $1.6 million project. Woodgrove, we haven't found the solution yet, and it's above it takes a specialist, so, you know, we have not been able to really figure that out, and that's something we're hoping that we can do. I've heard the Measure W money used for things like soccer complexes and things like that, where we have catch basins, and a way to catch the water and do those things. So I think if we could take care of these problems that we have now, and then get the fund, and then look towards ways to do that to improve parks, that's good. But what actually qualifies and what doesn't, that's good. You know, there's been lots of discussion on that, and we work with the consultant, and so we're asking questions now about Shadow Oak.
What consultants?
We use Hunter and Associates.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, for NPDS and the watershed and all those things, there's only a few you really go with, but I mean, that's who we've had for some time.
Okay.
We also use that money for our catch basins. So we contract with the county to clean their catch basins, and we pay out of that. And then another thing coming up is we have over 2,500 catch basins here in West Covina. Not all of them are ours, some are the counties, but the county cleans us. We are responsible to put trash capture devices in those catch basins. So by 2030, I think we have to have them all done. Yeah, we have to be in compliance. So we're putting, like this year, we're spending $120,000 towards it. But as we get closer to 2030, we're going to have to put more capital, more assets towards it. So there's lots of things we want to do. We definitely want to work on those projects, but also take care of what we need to.
And I know that they have a watershed steering committee for that Measure W regional money. So I don't think we participate in that at all, right?
I would say that our consultant does. I cannot say that 100% for sure, but I believe our consultant takes part of all of that.
Okay.
If you have some time and you want to try, Bill, it's an interesting. They talk about, it's an interesting thing, the watershed and the things they know, the water tables and what they talk about. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not a rush, but at some point, if we could
Your
get
eligibility.
well, just some sort of report on
Okay.
Measure W and like how we can use that.
Watershed
long-term.
engineering, they're more versed.
Because I don't think we have, just because I've spoken to a few people that are involved, and I don't think West Covina is involved at all. But if it was our consultant, maybe they represent multiple cities. Who knows? But that's definitely money that we could use to fix, I think, and address parts like you're already trying with Shadow Oak. But for example, like one of the ideas, and I know that I've heard it mentioned before, Cortez Park here, the football field. They could rip out the football field and then they put these big tanks underneath and they capture the stormwater and they treat it and they send it back out into the ocean, so it reduces pollution in the ocean. And then after they do that, the money also covers the brand new football field.
Yeah, it covers it, yeah, it does.
So you're essentially getting a free project if you're able to leverage those funds and then get other partners on board. And then we'll get a new field for free. We'll use Measure W, but those are the kind of ideas I wanted to explore to see if we could do that at all of our parks down north, to any ones that would lend itself to that type of project. But we would need to reach out to partners because that's like a regional project. So if we can get people on board, contribute.
Is it like an aquifer?
No, so the way it works is right now, all the water, like Mike was mentioning, it goes into the storm drains. It goes straight to the ocean.
Yeah.
It doesn't get treated, so they have oil, gas, all these contaminants. So what they're trying to do is before it gets to the storm drain, when it goes into the storm drain, they'll cut it off and they'll divert it into the park, into these big tanks. And they'll go through this cleaning process, treatment process, and then they let it back out into the same pipe.
They shouldn't, they should retain that water.
Well, that's a good point. So the majority of the time, it's hard though. They don't have anywhere to retain it, but when they do, they do retain it. And then in other cases, they actually use it for water recycling. But it's like a win-win because you're able to reduce pollutants into the ocean and you get brand new
Well,
fields.
what do they do with the pollutants that they catch in that filter? Where does that go? Into our land?
That goes somewhere,
Yeah.
but not into our oceans. So
It goes into our community?
Good question.
yeah, I don't know how the filtration system works. All I know is that the water that leaves is cleaner.
It's
And
clear.
I'm assuming that whatever is taken out of there is retained in some sort of filter and disposed of
And
appropriately.
there's projects like swales and things as well too. It's not always as advanced as that. Sometimes it's just diverting water and doing different things. So the scope, like I said, there's questions on the scope of what can you do, what you can't do. You know, like Shadow, we're hearing you can do asphalt, but you can't do concrete. So, and why that is, I don't know. But obviously, we're trying to divert water from the hillside and catch it. So there's a myriad of factors.
Okay, so yeah, any time in the future, I know it's long term, so Measure W is definitely something that we can agendize if you, and then
We'll have engineering come out, and obviously they're more versed in that, so we'll talk to engineering.
cool. Last thing, I know that the website, a lot of us have talked about the website, and I know that it came up at the council meeting. So is that something that we can kind of play a part in too, at least in the community services tab, and look at how we can improve the website to be more user-friendly, have better pictures of the parks, just more informative. So if, I don't know how we would agendize it, or if we need to wait until that's prepared for city council, but if we could play a part in that, at least the community services portion of it.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. That's all I have. So any other items to be agendized? All right. With that, the meeting's adjourned at 7:53. My apologies. Upcoming events. So you all have the upcoming events here. Anything that you wanted to touch on besides the Spring Festival?
Let's see what's happening between now and then. Aside from, the various opening days for the sports organizations that are listed on there, we also have the Easter egg hunt coming up at both here and Dunwoody. So we're looking forward to those events in partnership with the Kiwanis Club, which we're always very grateful for those opportunities. So, again, it's a great resource. Thank you, Deborah, for the time that you put in putting this together.
One event that's not on this list is that we're finalizing the flyer, but we're gonna have an Arbor Day event at Heritage Park on April 30th. We'll get that flyer out as soon as it's approved.
Is that with West Covina
It
Beautiful?
is with West Covina Beautiful. The city has received a grant from CAL FIRE for 50 trees. So 50 trees will be planted at Heritage Park. It is a part of the stipulation of the grant is working with a community group and volunteers. So we will need help that day. There will be trees planted, and West Covina, if you've been to the Arbor Day event, West Covina Beautiful does a great job, and they put on an agenda and part of the event, so that will happen as well. But it should be from about 8 to 1, and big event. We're hoping to really resolve some issues at Heritage Park. So
What day?
Saturday, April 30th. Did I say August? Sorry, it's confusing.
All right, so we'll see everyone at the Spring Festival, right?
Yep.
So yeah, with that, again, meeting's adjourned, again, at 7:55. Thank you.
Can you please buy the admission tickets
You get it on the event, right?
for here, right? Here,
We
this
also
house?
have, you can also come here for this. I guess,
And you'll be able to